So how do I go about adding the dollar symbol next to my numbers?
Great question. This is all money, so obviously it needs to look like that, but you're not going to type in those dollar signs. Please tell me you'll never type those in. Okay, all right. Nobody's got time for that.
No.
So we're going to select all the dollar amounts in our spreadsheet. And then what I want you to do is on the ribbon, on the Home tab, go to the number group. And you'll see, first of all, where it says General at the top, and then underneath it, there's 5 icons. And these are really useful. The first picture is the dollar sign. So we'll go ahead and click on that.
Oh, and it added the dollar sign to all of the cells. Nice.
And not just the dollar sign. If you look carefully, do you notice what else was added?
Yep, commas.
Added all the commas for us and 2 decimal places.
Okay.
So it just went ahead, standardized the format, put in commas, dollar signs. And by the way, there's also a comma on the ribbon. That would do exactly the same thing, except it just wouldn't have the dollar sign. So let's undo and we'll take off the dollar signs. And this time we'll just hit the comma. And you'll notice that it's the same formatting without the dollar sign if you didn't want all those.
Okay.
We'll put the dollar sign back on there.
Now I noticed there's these zeros to the right. What do those do exactly?
And that has to do with the decimal places that you just added.
Okay.
So for example, the majority of these numbers, as you look at them, are all 0 decimal places. So you don't necessarily have to show that. Here's what I'd like for you to do. There's 2 arrows. One points to the left, one points to the right. So notice that one says increased decimal and one says decreased decimal. So if you click increased decimal, notice now you have 3. Which you don't really need.
No.
But go ahead and decrease that a couple times until your decimal places are gone.
All right. Now there's just the numbers, but with no decimal.
Exactly. So that's a useful tool to get that where you need it to be. However, there's a big catch here. So something you have to be aware of what Excel's doing behind the scenes. So go ahead and put 2 decimal places back on there.
Okay.
Good. And I want you to look at the commission column, column K.
Let's see.
So the first line has a 0.4, 84.4, and the second one is 25.6. So we're going to try and remember those numbers. And go ahead and take the decimal places off again. So the first one was 84.4, so it shows 84. But the second one was 25.6. So what are we seeing?
26. How did that happen?
Right, so it's using those standard rounding tools that we maybe learned in 2nd or 3rd grade, so it rounds up and rounds down, which is great, and it's fine, except, here's the catch. Excel doesn't see these numbers. This is formatting only. So that number that we see on the screen, 27,026, Excel doesn't see. It sees 25.6, and that is going to make a difference in some of your totals and other formulas based on this number. So I'm not telling you don't use it, but I'm saying you have to know that what you see on the screen is not the number that Excel's using in the formulas. So just be aware of that. It can get you in trouble if you're not careful. So we added the dollar signs, changed the decimal places. There's a few more options here off the ribbon. So if you click on the down arrow beside the dollar sign, there's just some popular currencies listed if you needed to change it to pounds or euros or something like that. Now, there's many more listed, and I'll show you where some of the others are, but those are some of the most commonly used ones. And then notice right above that where it says custom, there's also a drop-down box there. And we have other formats other than money, but what I want to point out to you is that you have both currency and accounting options there.
Now, what's the difference between those two?
So it's really just a couple differences. If you choose currency, go ahead and choose currency from the list. Notice that it puts the dollar sign beside the number instead of over to the left of the cell. There's a gap there. So in accounting, the dollar sign is aligned on the far left of the cell. Also, it has to do with how it deals with zeros and how it deals with negative numbers. So they will treat negative numbers and zeros a little differently. But the most obvious difference is where that dollar sign is.
Got it.
Now, we looked at the decimals and we looked at the dollar signs, but we want to talk about dates and percents for a minute. So to do that, we're just going to go to a new sheet, and I just want to show you a couple things. So we're going to type in a date first of all, and I'm just going to have you humor me on this for a minute if you don't mind. So we're just going to type in January 1st of this year, and then we're going to go back and we're going to delete that. And I want you to just type in any number, maybe a 5 or 6 digit number. Just type in any number on the keyboard.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead and enter that.
What in the world? Year 3,398.
Exactly. So this is what drives people crazy in Excel because they don't understand how Excel formats dates and cells. So here's the trick with formatting. If you remember this, you're good. Excel formats the cells, not the data, the cells.
Okay.
So even though we put in a date, it was formatted for a date, and you deleted it, guess what? The cell is still formatted for a date. So no matter what you put in there, Excel says, I know you want this to be a date because you formatted that cell for a date, so it's going to show you a date. So this is how Excel handles dates. January 1st of 1900 was number 1 and counts from there, and we don't care and we don't need to know, but you just typed in the code number for the date you're seeing on your screen. And Excel said, you wanted a date, I'll give you a date. So there's a couple ways you can handle this. One easy way would just be go back to that drop-down list, and we'll just change it to either general, which is the default for all cells, or number. And you notice number always has 2 decimal places. So in this case, general would be fine.
Okay. And now it went back to the number that I typed.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you just change the formatting. Don't let that throw you when that happens because it will. But sometimes you'll see a number when you want to see a date. Sometimes you'll see a date when you want to see a number. It's just formatting, and all you have to do is change that.
Cool.
And then let's just do one more experiment here. Why don't we type in 0.45, and we're going to enter that. And then just click on the % sign on the ribbon.
And change it to a %.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, the same rule is going to apply. If we delete that and type in any other number, just go ahead and type in a number.
Okay. It's still formatting it as a %. Okay.
Exactly. So you remember the previous formatting. That doesn't just apply to number formats, that's all formatting. So if you type in a cell and it turns red and bold, it means at some point somebody formatted that cell red and bold. But it's especially frustrating with number formats. So similar to what we did with the date, if you didn't want it to be a percentage, how would you change it back to a number?
I'll go back to my drop-down menu and change it from percentage to general.
Sure.
Let's try that. And now it's a decimal.
Right, so it's going to convert a percentage to a decimal, of course.
Okay.
So those are some of the options that you have right there on the ribbon for all your number formatting.